done, you all. See how quick that was? That's why you got to get your Permagreen. What is going on, good people? How you all doing today? This is your boy Polo of Polo Fields Lawn Service. I thank for you all for tuning in. I'm glad that you all showed up. And y'all know what this show is going to be all about. It's going to be about Permagreens, and we're going to talk about some spring talk. We got some wonderful guests in the house tonight. Let me see who we have in here. Super, what is going on? Rooted Line. Hey, how you doing, sir? How are you doing? Who else we got in here? Super, what's happening, man? We got Lush Lawns. Yes, sir. It is time, sir. It is time. My brother Aldo, how you doing over there, man? Harper Explorers. Everyone's coming in. What's going on the line, brother? How are you doing, sir? Yes, sir. Team Polo. It's all about Team Polo. It's all about everybody, baby. Everybody's gonna, have a good time, and we're all on the same team. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope that you all are having a good one. And for the ones that are married, or y'all got y'all little boo thing on the side, Valentine's Day is right around the corner. Y'all make sure that y'all be prepared. Don't make your significant mad now. Don't make them mad. But hey, we gonna jump right into this thing. I'm not gonna keep holding you all. And our first guest that we're going to bring on, it's none other than Dan from Permagreen. So, Dan, sir, how are you doing, sir? How are you doing?
I'm doing good, Ken. Thanks for having me on.
Appreciate
I
that.
like that. I like that footage of you on the Triumph. Looks like you're getting pretty quick.
I'm trying, man. I took her out. I took her out on a date in the fall time, and we got acquainted a little bit. So we're ready. We're ready to get back out there. We're ready to get back out
Getting
there.
there. Oh yeah. Well, I'm confident you're gonna be hitting it pretty hard this spring. I'm sure you'll get there.
Oh yeah. Oh
But
yeah. So this is Dan from Permagreen. Dan works at Permagreen and has probably been there for a long time. But Dan, I'm gonna let you have the floor. Go ahead and just let the people know a little bit about you and just a little bit about your background.
yeah. So actually, I've been working for Permagreen for 12 years. So since 2009, and before that, I worked for a local lawn care company. We're out of Northwest Indiana, kind of by Chicago, and so cool season turf area. And I worked for that lawn care company for 2 years. And matter of fact, we were when I got involved with that company, we were making that transition from pulling the hose and pushing the push spreader and using the backpack sprayers to go into the Permagreen machines. And so that was a cool experience for me because I got to see kind of that transformative effect that the Permagreen has over these lawn care businesses and the company that I worked for. I mean, we just did turf apps. So we were just doing fertilization, weed control. We were doing some fungicide apps. We were doing, some seeding, things like that. So, but yeah, I saw it firsthand. I mean, going from starting out walking it, pulling the hose and pushing the push better, and then going to the Permagreen machine. I mean, it was really night and day, and it was such a great learning experience for me, especially now that I'm into selling the Permagreen and the Permagreen Triumphs in particular. That it was just really beneficial for me. So after the 2 years I spent with that lawn care company, how I got involved with Permagreen, the equipment manufacturers. Actually, I was going to Permagreen. They're right in town here in Valparaiso, Indiana. And I was getting some parts. And at the time, Tom Jessen, who's the owner of Permagreen, he was working on the Triumph. Before that, they had the Magnum model. I'm sure a lot of the guys out there, sure a lot of your listeners and your viewers who have some experience with the Magnum model. Um, but yeah, they were in kind of the testing phase of the Triumph, and I'd gotten there to pick up some parts, and Tom came to me and said, he goes, "Hey, you want to take this for a spin? We're, in development process. We got it pretty far along here, but just want to get your feedback, being an applicator." So I jumped on the machine and started taking it for a ride, and I was taking on some hills, and I was doing some turns on some hills, and I was really putting it through its paces. And he noticed that I was doing some things out there that his production guys weren't doing, some real life stuff. And I was, already pretty fresh off, how it is when you get out there and all the different terrain you run into, like getting around trees, doing the hills, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he saw that, like, he could use my insight, and he told me to come back and, spend a little bit more time out testing the machine. We went to different spots, different fields, different scenarios, a lot of different terrain. And, he just picked my brain on it. And one thing led to another. I started uh, getting more involved at Permagreen. I mean, my boss had me doing shipping. He had me doing sub-assemblies, doing the production. I got to learn all facets of the company there, which was really helpful too. Now that I'm in the sales role, director of sales, and I think that's important, I guess, for any sort of company out there. Is like when you have somebody that you're training and you're bringing along, just getting them involved with all the different facets of the company. It really is, I think, super beneficial to getting a well-rounded uh, education for a new employee. So, but yeah, 12 years later, I'm at Permagreen and really enjoy working there. My boss is great. I mean, he's more or less the creator of the concept of the ride-on sprayer spreader. So, he's learned a lot. We've all learned a lot through the last 20, 25 years that we've been building these ride-on sprayer spreaders. And, he's been a disruptor of the industry. I mean, he's just really changed everything and made the ride-on sprayer spreader kind of the standard when it comes to lawn care applicators and any company that's doing turf applications.
So you've basically, well, as far as Permagreen, this is like the only thing that you all make. You don't do any type of weed eaters, any type of blowers, or anything like that.
No, yeah, sprayer spreader. That's all we do. That's our main squeeze. I mean, we've had a few models over the years, but we've always made one at a time. I mean, that's kind of been our philosophy, is one machine, all properties. I think for uh, a lot of companies out there, when you look at the big picture and you look at the type of properties that you're doing, the Permagreen makes sense. I mean, there's other machines out there that have their niche. There's bigger machines with bigger capacities, even more like power and more horsepower behind them. And again, they have their place. But I think for most lawn care guys out there, me included, the company I work for, we were doing mostly residential, right in between the, 1 to 10,000 square foot range, even though we had some commercial properties kind of mixed in there. But the Permagreen just fit all our needs. I mean, it was a one-stop shop for our property size, for our terrain. We can get on the hills. We can get in those 36-inch gates. We didn't need to haul around a bunch of different equipment. We didn't need to bring two or three guys along for the ride in order to get the application done. I mean, it just did everything for us. And again, I think a lot of companies out there kind of fit in that mold where they're doing a combination of residential, commercial, and even for commercial and larger properties, like let's say you got your HOAs, you got your apartment complexes, you got your municipalities that you're doing. I mean, those got those have tight areas too. They have small plots of turf that you got to navigate through. They got slopes, they got hills. So, even if you look at the spreadsheet and it says 4 acre property, that doesn't mean it's a big, wide open, flat space. I mean, you got terrain to navigate.
Right.
And, for us, the company I work for, and I think of just a lot of companies out there, the Permagreen is just a catch-all and is going to be the machine that's frankly just going to make them the most money.
And I guess another thing about it too is you all can just you're not like other companies making a whole bunch of things, which means you can just focus on one model. If you need to make any upgrades, you can be able to just focus on that. You can basically harness all of your energy on that one thing, which speaks volumes because this is what you all specialize in. Your spreader sprayer, you're not doing a whole bunch of things, you're not all over the place. So you should expect for something like this, as far as the quality, the build, the performance, all of those things to be top notch, because this is what you all basically focus all of your energy in.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as far as the manufacturing process too, I think it's pretty beneficial because we just got one machine, we got one routine. The guys know it like the back of their hand, and so from a manufacturing standpoint, the quality improves. I mean, the guys that work for Permagreen, I mean, they get it down, and we just you see that I think through our customers, we get a lot of positive feedback on the durability of the machine. I mean, it's built for high production. You got companies out there that are putting 500, 600, 700 hours a year on the machine, and we've set out to build a machine that can handle that. And another thing that I think gets overlooked with our machine, I think a lot of companies out there, and we were the same way. We had some properties out there that were huge, and that was kind of the way we entered the market. We had this, uh, whatever it might be, 2 or 3 acre big wide open property, and we said, oh man, this is really going to suck to have to walk. We should really look into a ride-on and look into the Permagreen. And that's how we started out. But the more acclimated we got with the machine, the smaller and smaller the properties got that we started putting on, until the point where we were putting on everything. And that's when we were really making money with the machine. And again, going back to those residential properties, I mean, we would market the heck out of these new subdivisions or these neighborhoods that would have these properties clustered in the same area. We'd offer these referral programs where we'd say, hey, get your neighbor to sign up for our services, and we'll give you a 10% discount. So it would just play right into the Permagreen's hands, because we could park in a spot, we could unload the Permagreen, and we could knock out 3, 4, 5, 6 properties in a matter of 10, 15 minutes. And that's when we're really cooking. That's when we're really making a lot of money, because I mean the margins are so good on those smaller properties too compared to the larger properties. I think the larger properties are a nice feather in the cap. Say, hey, look at this high profile large commercial property, whatever it might be. But I think where the real good money's at is in those residential properties. And going back to it is, that's that's right in the Permagreen's wheelhouse, and that's what a lot of these companies that have gotten it have focused on and taken advantage of. And I know another thing I think that does get overlooked with the advantages of the Permagreen is in the accuracy. I think, of course, there's the productivity that will improve, and you're going to get stuff done a lot quicker. But that Permagreen's mechanically regulated as far as the spread and spray rate. So, like when I'm operating the machine, I got a little tachometer on the dash, and I got as long as that RPMs on that tachometer is right around 3450, that's going to make sure that pump's spinning at the right speed to give me that quart per thousand rate.
Right.
That's going to make sure that impeller is spinning at the right speed to give me that 14-foot wide spread pattern. And then as long as I'm doing even 7-foot passes, I'm good to go. It's going to put it out right the first time. Everything's going to go the same speed. Everything's going to come out uniform, and I'm going to get better results. I'm going to get more customers from seeing those better results, and it's just a virtuous cycle there. So that's another thing that just it gets overlooked sometimes. is uh, the increase or the improvement in accuracy of the products, and that's just a real key thing, obviously, when you're putting down weed control and fertilizer, because it's just one of those things you got to get right the first time. And I think we've always understood that, and the machine does a lot of that work for you as far as putting that product down right.
And what you was basically saying about doing the residentials, I totally agree with you with that. And that's not to knock or anything like that as far as the bigger properties that are acre, but when you can knock a bunch of them out, especially when they're all next to each other or they're right around a corner from each other, you're boom, boom, boom. And as far as for the operator, the operator gets into a flow. When you was talking about the spread as far as the 14 foot, that right there really, you can really maximize that on any type of residential lawn, because you're talking about doing maybe 2 or 3 passes and then you're going to the backyard. And by the machine only being 36 inches wide, you can fit into those gates. You're not talking about a big industrial spreader or sprayer where you're better off just leaving that on something that you can be able to just do acres with. So it's very it's a really, really, really good piece of equipment as far as for someone that does residentials, and the fact that it can do residentials and do acres, that right there speaks volumes. That speaks volumes.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're spreading and spraying an acre in 15 minutes, so you're still knocking out your big stuff pretty quick. But again, like you said, that's a big advantage in those residential properties, and to get topical, with the permagreen and the situation with the lawn care industry, and I guess all industries for that matter, as far as the labor issues. You've seen a lot of guys that just with the difficulties they've had as far as hiring folks, is that if they were on the fence about getting a permagreen before, they weren't anymore, because they knew they had to do something. They had to get a piece of equipment that was gonna, get the job done and get the job of, one or two or three guys, because it's just been such a struggle to find the help. And even from my time at the company I worked for, making that transition and going to the permagreen, you're the work is more enjoyable. You're not having to walk it. When July and August roll around, you're not like, oh, this is going to be a nightmare having to walk these properties, these steep.
Yes, yes.
I mean, I'm sure you've been there,
Oh, yeah.
but yeah, it's not fun. But yeah, and also less exposure to the product. You're not having to walk through it. You're not having it right at your hands. You're staying cleaner out there. And I know for us too, we did like a production based commission. So we were getting more work done. So essentially, we were making more money. So
Hmm.
I think it allowed us to hire our better guys. And I think that when they're making more money, work's more enjoyable. They're staying cleaner. They're more likely to stay on. And it's kind of with all the labor issues and even all the price increases, you got to be efficient, and you got to do things that are gonna keep your employees on and keep them happy.
Right. So Dan, before we go into the next segment, I just had one question I wanted to throw up there from Rooted Lawn Co. And he basically states, what makes a permagreen better than the other competitors? Your top two things. What do you think?
Well, for one, I mentioned that mechanically regulated spray system. So you have that, again, that's all regulated by the RPMs, and as opposed to a lot of the other machines in our market where you have to tweak a pressure gauge according to what speed you're going. Sometimes you even have to make adjustments to the impeller speed in order to dial in your spread width. The Permagreen does all that work for you. So, I mean, when you're out there on a property, you got enough worry things to worry about, getting around landscaping, trees, dog poop, whatever you might have there, that just being able to focus on navigating the machine, and then the machine taking care of putting down the product right for you is huge, and you're going to get better results. So that's a patented feature there that no one else has. And I think in just its versatility, I think again, getting in the 36-inch gates, you got those drop down handlebars. You got to drop those down and walk behind it, which I know for me has got me out of many of jam out there where you get stuck in a precarious situation on a property. I mean, everybody's been there, where being able to drop those handlebars down and walk behind the machine to get it out of a tricky area, or a tough hill you don't feel comfortable riding on. You got that as a backstop, and I think it's just between the accuracy of the spray and between the versatility of it and that lower profile, it's great on hills, so it just makes it that much more versatile. I think it's the best machine on the market for what most guys are doing out there.
Good. And to cap that off, as far as it being the best machine on the market, we are about to bring on a man who has a lot of experience with the Permagreen. I mean, I'm the freshman of the class. He's definitely a senior. He's been doing it for a long time. You all know him by Paul's Prime Cuts. Paul, how are you doing, sir? How you doing there?
What's up, man? All right, I'm backwards here.
How you doing there, Paul?
Man, I'm great.
Good. So, hey, go ahead and jump on in this, Paul. You are a Permagreen specialist, but before we get into the Permagreen, just for the audience that may not know who you are, sir, go ahead and just let them know what you do, and just give them a little background on you.
Well, I sell used cars, and that's about it.
Oh man, you sell used cars.
Well, no, I'm Paul Outlaw. I own a lawn care company here in eastern North Carolina, and I've used the Permagreen for several years and love it. It's made the biggest difference in the world. So I treat a lot of, some of these big companies obviously treat a lot more, but for a one-man deal with the amount of time I put into it, I feel like I'm getting a lot done, especially with the Permagreen. But I got a little YouTube channel too that sometimes when I get time, when I'm out working, I'll just stop and film what I'm doing and try to share with folks what I'm seeing and maybe teach them a little bit about what I got going on and what they can do to help with their issues and their properties.
So Paul, really quick, how you said that you have your own company and everything. How long have you had your company? How long have you been in business and just been doing your lawn thing?
We're close to 20 years at this point.
Wow. So you didn't been around the block. You didn't seen a few things, huh?
Yeah, and still learning every day. Still seeing new stuff every day. But a lot of it gets to be routine, and you run through it. But then you run up with something new, and it keeps it exciting.
So when it comes to the Permagreen, when did you spark interest in getting one? And I'm pretty sure you probably have had a Permagreen for a long time.
I can't remember how long ago it was when I actually bought one, but the first time I saw one and thought that was awesome was when Matt Martin used to do his original YouTube stuff where he was just out in the field spraying yards, and then he would have the show on Sunday nights where he talked about what he did spraying. And I at the time I was doing mostly mowing, and I would just kind of illegally spray some yards here and there because I didn't have a license then. But after seeing him, it inspired me to get my license, and I went out and got a license, and I built. First I was using a battery powered backpack, and I started spraying yards with that. Now, I mean, it worked out okay, but it worked the heck out of you. And I saved up my money I made with my battery powered backpack and built a rig to go on one of my lawnmowers, and then saved up enough money with that thing to buy used Permagreen, which actually I was going to buy Matt Martin's Permagreen, and something fell through with that, his brother-in-law or something. But I had saved up the money to get that because he told me he'd sell it to me. And so my buddy Jay Wyrick down in Charlotte says, there's one here in Charlotte for sale. You want me to get it for you? And Jay, without even hardly knowing me, went and bought the Permagreen for me and met me halfway, and I paid him back for it. And that's how I got my first Permagreen.
So what is it that you, as far as, because you've had a Permagreen for a few years now. This is just really about to be my first season in having a Permagreen, and of course, you know, I, and Dan, we talked about it at the GIE. That's why some of you all, if you are watching, come to the GIE. There's a lot of things you can be able to see, a lot of people you can be able to meet, and a lot of equipment you can be able to try if you want to try something different. But this is my first year. You've had it for a long time now. Do you have any type of pros, any type of cons with the things, just to kind of let people know, just in case if someone wants to purchase one?
Yeah, well, I mean, the biggest pro, it is so much more productive than any other way you're going to spray. And that one machine will go on every single property. And as you use it more and more, Polo, you're going to find out you can do more and more with it. Like now, probably that you're new to it, it's a little tricky riding, spreading, and spraying at the same time. We're going to flip that lever and, you know, wondering if I can get on this hill, or what happens if I drive up in this corner wrong, or whatever. But after time, it'll get very natural to you, and you'll be able to use it. And it is so productive to be able to just go and spread and spray and ride on that same, you know, any property, fit through any gate, get on any kind of terrain. You don't have to worry about getting stuck. The Z-Spray, well, I mean, I'm not going to call names, but the bigger, heavier machines that have a lot of carrier on board are, you know, very heavy. And when they're stuck, they're stuck. I mean, if you get it in a wet yard, you ain't getting that thing out with nothing but a truck or a tractor or something. You can't just push it out of there. So that's a big advantage. And, you know, it's just the simplicity of the machine. It's just a very basic, simple machine. I've learned to work on them. I've, you know, probably totally rebuilt my oldest one. Parts are easy to get. Permagreen's got all the parts. So, yeah, it's just a great machine. It's made my weed control business for sure. I don't know where I'd be without it.
So I actually do have a property where it's a very steep hill. It's actually a lawn that I had renovated, and let's just say I learned real quick. It started out level, and then once it got to that hill, I mean, that thing just turned, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna just, you know, I mean, you gotta pick your battles, and you gotta learn where you can and what you can and what you can't do. And of course, by me being a newer operator with it, you know, I don't want to mess up a brand new piece of equipment. So I'm just kind of learning out how to be able to turn, and like you said, when to turn it on, when to turn it off, when you can go in this corner, when you can't. And that's just me just getting used to the properties and things and stuff like that. But overall, you are right as far as it being a piece of equipment where you can really get on the property, be efficient in spraying and spreading. I really do love that factor of it. So I wanted to take it into another question as far as when we're talking about hills. Do you have a lot of properties that have those hills where you may be able to use the Permagreen, or you may have to pull out a walk behind or anything like that?
No, I can ride the Permagreen on everything I got. I mean, I'm not in the mountains or anything by any means. I'm more toward the coast. But, I mean, you know, there's berms and things like that that are really steep. And I've over time I've got where I can get the Permagreen on pretty much everything I do. I mean, if it's a straight up cliff, I can't get it on it. What I do have a place that's at an incline about like that, and I'll pull up to the edge of it and spray over it, back up, move over a few feet, spray over it again, and from the top, and it seems to work. So I don't get on that one, but I get on some pretty steep stuff with it, and it's fine. Our buddy Chris Elms, he lives up in the mountains, and he sprays all these young life camps with the Permagreen. Has some great looking turf and some mountains, so I mean they get to go anywhere.
That's actually good, and I do have a question that I want to put up too also, and this question is really going to swing back to you, Dan. This is from Striper Man, and Striper Man is basically asking, will you all ever have any battery powered spreaders? I think that's what Striper Man is saying.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, right now, I mean, there's no definitive plans, I guess, to have any. I know at one point we did have we call it the recharge sprayer, and it was it was actually a spray attachment that you put on a Let's Go push spreader, and that was battery powered, that was electric. And we ended up actually taking that off the market, at least for the time being, just because the costs were pretty high on producing it. But it's something that we might put back out there. You know, it seemed like we had a contingent of customers that were really into that, and you know, made it a little sidekick for their Permagreen machine. But yeah, you know, we're always looking to improve the machine. We've of course, are taking that in consideration as far as any sort of electric machine. So yeah, it's not out of the realm of possibilities. I'll put it that way.
Because everything is going battery power now. That's what it seems like. So of course, a lot of people are going to be asking those questions. Hey, are you going to be doing this here? Which I really I'm not saying that it can't do that, but I would just rather that thing just to stay gas, man. I mean, I'm just being honest.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why we kind of went away from the electric start system, because man, fertilizer and electric wiring don't mix too hot. You know, they don't mix very well. So, you know, that's one thing you have to really consider when it comes to electrical components and anything electric, is that you're dealing with a pretty corrosive element in fertilizer and control product. So, you know, you got to take that into consideration, and sometimes that can be more trouble than it's worth. But you know, if you can find a way to protect it properly, then you know there's always that possibility.
Cool. So I mean, and then again too, a lot of people are just coming out with these battery powered mowers and weed eaters, and this is like the first stage of it, right? So everyone is always going to be getting better each year, adding this, adding that, making the battery life longer and doing all of those things. So I mean, to really come in it right now, and you really already have something that's stable, I don't think, just me personally, that will be good, especially when everyone just now doing the battery thing. And let's just say, for example, 3 years from now, there's a lot of mowers that are out there that are battery powered, and those things are lasting a long time, because you got some people that be doing 8, 10, 12-hour days. And as far as for an operator, I can't even talk right. As far as an operator out there in the field, that's the one thing you're going to want is longevity. You're not going to want to be out there and then your battery's going dead on you, or you got to have 15 batteries in the truck and doing all that extra stuff. That's, you know, and especially with when you are spreading and spraying, you're doing a lot of properties a day. versus
Mhm.
cutting. So, just to kind of have that long life, that'll be something that I would want to wait on too, personally.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know if the technology's out there to, I mean, you're talking about guys that are, like you said, using like a Permagreen, for example, 8, 9, 10 hours out of the day. They're trying to, keep rolling, keep moving, staying fast, and, getting whatever it might be, 200, 300, 400,000 square feet done in a day. It's, yeah, I mean, you wouldn't want, to get slowed up by, having to recharge batteries and, the product just not holding up as long as you want it to. So yeah, you're right. Those are all kind of factors in the equation.
Okay, so before we jump into our next one, gentlemen, I want to throw this question up as well. And this is from Outman Lawn Service. So this is for basically both of you all. What do you clean the permagreen? What do you clean the permagreen with, and do you recommend to help? What do you recommend to help with corrosion? So, Paul, I'll start with you first, and then Dan, we can go with you second.
Okay. Obviously blow the thing off after every couple yards, but I do wash mine with water. I don't know if that's really the greatest thing to do, water and fertilizer, mix it together, but you got to rinse it off. I mean, the thing gets extremely nasty, but I don't use a pressure washer. Well, I do. I got a little electric pressure washer I'll spray it with sometimes, but most of the time, at the end of the day, when I come back to the shop, I'll rinse out. Well, first, I'll blow it off, blow all the stuff off of it. I might spray a little degreaser on it, something like simple green or grease lightning or something, and I might agitate it a little bit with a brush and then rinse it with a hose. As far as cleaning out the tanks, I got a shop vac, and I'll suck the
Uh-oh, you
thing
can't leave
out
us on the suck
and
though.
clean it with ammonia.
you kind of froze up
Yeah,
on
Oh,
us,
that
Paul.
cut out.
it's bad timing. Wonder what that was all about.
Yeah, you stopped. You froze up on the suck the.
That could have been
Oh,
anything.
a shop vac, and you use that to vacuum the liquid out of the tanks. Um, and then put some water in the tanks, put some ammonia in there, and you get a long handle brush and you can scrub it around a little bit, or a power washer you can rinse inside the tanks. You run that out of the tanks and rinse it out, and then use the shop vac again to pull that little bit out of there,
Mm-hmm.
and you're good to go for the next property. Obviously you'll run some of that ammonia through the spray system by changing from valve to valve, spraying it out. Run some through your unloader valve in the back, and it'll have the insides cleaned out, and you'll be ready to move on to another herbicide.
Okay, Dan, any suggestions?
Yeah, I mean, to echo what Paul was saying, blowing off as much fertilizer as possible at the end of the day helps. I think when guys kind of get in trouble is when they, not that you can't, again, as Paul was saying, take water to it or take a hose to it, but I think sometimes if they, the machine's got a lot of fertilizer on it and then they just, hose everything down, that activates that corrosive element of the fertilizer and, starts eating away at the transaxle and the engine. And those are kind of the two main components you want to focus on with the maintenance and the cleaning is the engine and the transaxle. I know we've taken a lot of steps as far as protecting the transaxle. They're coming out of the factory with a product called fluid film that we spray on the transaxles and we spray on some of the moving parts of the engine. So that's another thing you can get. Really, anything that you could spray or apply onto the transaxle and parts of the engine that will create a barrier between that and the fertilizer goes a long way. Like Teflon spray is good is another one. A lot of stuff that you could pick up at an AutoZone or what have you. Um, but yeah, just really popping that cover off and getting there and blowing off as much as you can with that gearbox transaxle, doing that on a regular basis. As far as flushing the lines, I know some guys are using like an OxyClean in the tanks, and putting two gallons of warm water and OxyClean, letting it sit there for a while, and then flushing it out. You can actually turn on both the valves and like open up take the nozzles and the caps off of that and just let everything flush out that way. That way you're getting it through all the lines. But that's another thing you can do. And but yeah, just anytime you can take compressed air to it to get that fertilizer, I think that goes a long way.
Cool, cool. Well, we've been talking a lot about permagreens. I cannot forget my brothers that are waiting to come in and, hey, join this party, ask some more questions, talk about some spring talk and more permagreen talk. So, without further ado, let's bring on Cam and Turf of the We Workin Team. What's up, brothers?
What
Hey
is
guys.
going on? What's going on, everybody?
What is going on? Hey,
How
man,
y'all doing? Happy to be here.
the floor is you all's, man. You all can go ahead and ask Dan, ask Paul anything.
I'm gonna toss it to Turf. Turf, you go ahead and lead it off.
Okay, I'll go ahead and jump in. I thought of I saw some pretty interesting stuff in the chat, and it sparked a few questions that I'm gonna direct towards Dan. And Dan, I know we've been talking mostly lawn care, right? But from an
Mhm.
agricultural standpoint, do you have just as many customers in that realm as well when it comes to like people purchasing the permagreen for farming? What does that look like? And then
Um.
the next question I would ask is, I know that you're more so. Oh, go ahead.
Oh. Yeah. I was gonna. As far as your first question there. Agriculturally. Yeah. Not a lot of farmers who use it. I mean, sometimes they'll. I remember we had a vineyard use our machine to spray for weeds around their vineyards to keep that clean, keep the weeds down. Um, but for the most part, you don't see
Yeah.
a lot of use as far as farming goes. It's mainly just in you got your lawn care companies that do turf applications like the True Green type of companies. You got municipalities that'll use it to maintain their turf, and just a handful of homeowners that might have some extra disposable income and want to do it themselves. But for the most part, that's pretty much just in the turf realm.
Uh oh, hold on. Let me. Wrong screen. Wrong screen. My bad. Wrong
I
screen.
was like,
I'm.
I changed.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, why do I look so different?
I'm trying to edit back here at the same time. You all go ahead, Turf. My bad.
You're all good. Nah, that makes sense. I was just thinking, like, I wonder how many small farmers, obviously, probably, maybe 5, 10 acres or less. Maybe homesteaders, like Mike hinted. He said, "Hey, I'm gonna have one on my homestead one day," and that could be a possibility, Mike. I see what you're putting down there. And then shifting gears, since we're talking a little, since we brought up homesteaders, have you guys ever played with coming out with some type of residential models, or are you always geared and structured towards the professional applicators? Like, you make a really good machine that you can ride on. Have you ever been interested in diving in the world of producing a quality, uh, valuable, when a competitive backpack sprayer for your average homeowner, or even for the professional applicator in situations to where the turf, where your permagreen is just too large to get into spaces, or is too steep to handle certain areas? Have y'all ever considered that? without giving out any cheat codes. If you are, I don't know if you're allowed to talk about it if you are, but yeah, I'm just curious.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those things that we mulled over, when it comes to like, R&D meetings and things like that. We've kicked around some ideas like what would it take to, um, make an affordable, like manufacture of an affordable, ride-on fertilizer. I mean, like it gets a little tricky with the spraying end of things because, in most cases you need to be licensed for putting down these products. But at least with a spreader, we've thought about that, and I don't know, just haven't really taken that next step towards it. Just really focused on the professional applicator. But again, just like the electric stuff, there, it's never out of the realm of possibilities, and you never know. You might see a Permagreen and a Menards one of these days. So we'll see.
Well, I think the recharge would fit into that
Like it.
lawn enthusiast area if you come back with something like that. And what the recharge was, it was a tank
All right.
that fit into half of a Let's Go spreader. So you could still put fertilizer in it, and it had a spray nozzle that
Gotcha.
shot out just like the Triumph does. So basically what you had was a little push Triumph. And so
Right.
I think the way people are getting so into it now that if we had the recharge back, I think between Dan's excellent salesmanship and folks like y'all pushing them on the YouTubes and stuff, I think we could sell a lot of recharges now.
Yeah. I think that's it's still it's still a possibility, that's for sure. And Paul's right. I think the recharge sprayer would be, I mean, for homeowners and professional applicators, I think it'd be a good thing. But yeah, we'll see where it goes. And if we do put that back out there, I'll let you guys know. Do a little product testing.
Well, the batteries have come a long ways since the recharge was out too. Cool. So I mean, there could probably be a better battery system for the thing, and I think it would be a hit if we try it again.
Yeah, that sounds like a good one to me.
And if I heard that correctly, I heard possible demoing in the future. I like that.
Yeah. I can run that through some paces.
Yeah, we'll keep you posted.
I've got a
and then Paul. Oh, go ahead,
Robert.
Go ahead, Turf, because you have a little delay on you, but you can go ahead.
Okay, so I was gonna say, I'm sorry. I'm over here. It's I'm in the future over here, and I guess that's what the delay is. But Paul, I mean, are you ever going to print a PDF guide so we can, so those with Permagreens or Polo greens out there, they can fine tune their Permagreen to a nice raceway speed like yours? Show us how to adjust that thing. No, I'm joking. That was it. It was just a joke. It fell flat. There you go.
So I mean, I don't know what happened to Paul.
I don't know what happened to Paul either.
His phone died. Guaranteed. I bet that's what happened.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it did too. And then here go Polo pulling the turf on me with no background.
Yeah, but I was trying to make up for Paul. Here come Paul back real quick. Hold on. Let me.
And then Mike said, "Is that my lawn behind you, Cam?" Nice. There you go, Mike.
Fired.
Mike coming in strong.
Fired, Mike.
Coming in strong.
The thing
Mike,
is,
you know mine will be popping harder. That's all.
You know the thing is Turf wish he could have his stripes like this. That's the problem.
Stop playing. Well, we about to see it. We about to see in about 3 months. We about to see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I don't use turf paint.
What?
Fighting words right there.
Escalated. Wow. Now I'm using turf paint, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my goodness.
Oh man.
Wow.
Man.
I painted right here. It's all right. I don't know if I want to do it to good grass or not, but I mean, while it's dormant, I'm in favor of the turf paint.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
So
yours-
Cam, that means you
yours
can
is
use it on yours then. He said he don't want to use it on good grass, so you know.
Oh,
where
damn.
are you?
I'm up here. I'm in Maryland.
Paul is
Do we lose
having
Paul
some
again?
technical
Okay.
difficulties.
Yeah.
That's all right though.
We gonna
Yeah.
push
So,
through.
so I had a question. So, and we lost Paul again. And my question was going to be towards Paul. Um, my pops has got Centipede, and I know Matt Martin earmuffs. So Centipede is one of the things that like I am not a cool season guy, warm season guy at all, and I know Paul does work with some of that Centipede down there in Eastern North Carolina, and my dad's actually not too far from you. Um, and I just wanted to kind of get a little bit of information that I could pass on and maybe help him out this year with his Centipede lawn, and just trying to understand like what are your programs looking like for Centipede lawn as far as what you're going down with and everything. And he's right there in the same area that you're in.
Where is he?
Greenville.
Oh, okay, yeah, not far. I went to school in Greenville for a while. My mom actually lives in Greenville.
Okay.
With Centipede, fertilizer, we'll start with fertilizer. It doesn't require a lot of nitrogen. It likes equal nitrogen to potassium ratios. I like to use ammonium sulfate for my nitrogen source and sulfate of potash for my potassium. It doesn't like phosphorus very much. It's very sensitive to 2,4-D herbicides. The and pre-emergents are pretty rough on it too. Pre-emergents like prodiamine are harsh on it. So for a pre-emergent, he's going to want, for a post and pre-emergent, he can use something like atrazine and simazine, which are cheap and extremely effective weed control, and they're really good for Centipede. Celsius is a good weed control for Centipede, and he's just gonna, the pH needs to be low, and in
He's
our
got that
areas,
covered.
you know, when I say low, I mean around 4-ish, in the mid 4s is usually where Centipede is happy, up to 5 or so, but yeah, Centipede. The good thing about it is if you don't do a whole lot to it and it's somewhere it's been for years and it's happy, it's usually going to do pretty well if you give it a little minimal feeding and can keep the weeds out of it. But if it's somewhere where it's not doing very well, there's not a lot you can do to soup it up. Like Bermuda, you can just fertilize the heck out of it and it starts taking over. But Centipede, if it's not liking where it's at, it's just not going to do. And sometimes Centipede, just out of the blue, will just blow up and die, especially if you've been pushing it hard with high nitrogen fertilizers, especially if you've been pushing it with urea. It seems to blow it up more. But I like ammonium sulfate and sulfate of potash for Centipede.
So when you say not as much nitrogen, what are like pounds per 1,000 on a season?
Up to about a pound per year would be where I would cut that off.
Wow,
Oh, wow.
that's low.
That's
Wow.
low.
Because at first I thought you was about to say
Pound and a half.
a pound per application. I was like, hold on, wait, how's this low? This sounds like a cool season.
Wow.
a pound per year.
A pound per year. And usually what you can do is probably put down a pound when it greens up in the spring, and maybe sometime through a slow release or just the ammonium sulfate, and then later in the season, if it looks like it's going to need another feed, put you about a half pound on it. But I really would not go over a pound and a half. Most of mine are relatively happy at a pound or less per year of nitrogen.
Wow.
Wow.
That is low. That's low. So one other thing, we did do a soil test. I did a soil, got him to do a soil test. He sent it off. We got it back. And he's my pops is old school. That 10 10 10 or I mean
Yeah,
he's
see,
from
that's
that
just
he's from that era,
the
and I
old
was like,
school
pops, man,
guys around here used to use the 888 on Centipede, but see, it doesn't like phosphorus that much, and
yeah.
the 10 10 10 is usually going to be just some straight urea, and it's just not good for it. He needs to find him some ammonium sulfate based, like a 15015 with ammonium sulfate and sulfate of potash, and that's going to be the trick for Centipede right there.
So with it not liking a lot of phosphorus, does that mean that it typically has a pretty shallow root system, or it just
Very shallow
doesn't?
root system.
It does. Have a
Okay,
shallow root system.
almost similar to like bent grass or something.
Yeah, well, Centipede's going to be a really shallow rooter. That's why your DMI pre-emergents are going to screw the roots up on it. So that's why you want to use something like Simazine or Atrazine for your
That makes sense.
Your pre and post on it.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's so one of the things I did know, as far as it did not like phosphorus. And I started looking into it, and certain certain potassium sources it's also not a fan of. So I did pick up on, like, those were two things that go down with. And as far as the nitrogen portion of it, I was like, well, I got to figure that out. It's a warm season lawn, but I did not expect it to be that low, as far as the rates that are going down per year. But yeah, that's good info. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, for the most part, the backyard is looking good. Like, he's struggling a little bit in the front, and I think in the front it's like weeds have came into it, and I think we got to get the weeds under control, get some of them cleaned out, and try and get it to grow. I mean, he's got plenty of sunlight for it. There's not a whole lot of trees and all of that stuff around, so backyard back in the side's doing great.
Yeah, in a lot of older homes, what we see is as time goes by and shrubs mature, trees mature, it shades the lawn out more and more, and so they're losing grass in areas. They're like, well, it wasn't like this before, but the more Centipede's not going to go in the shade at all. So if he's got full sun, he's good to go. And Greenville is a big Centipede market. That's probably one of the most popular grasses there. The sod farm here in Enfield, North Carolina, has actually stopped producing Centipede sod because it's just such a. They used when I was a kid in the 70s and 80s, Centipede was the bomb. Everybody wanted Centipede. My dad had a Centipede yard and thought it was the greatest thing ever. But as time goes by, it's kind of fallen out of favor for reasons like that. If it does go bad, there's not a whole lot you can do to fix it, and it just seems to sometimes decline with age and time. Sometimes, not all the time. But there's a sod farm in Newbern, which is not far from Greenville either, that still produces a lot of Centipede. So he's in good shape getting more grass if he ever needs it. But yeah, my mom's got Centipede in Greenville, and when you ride around in Greenville, that's all you see. But a lot of people are switching to zoysia and these hyped up Bermuda variants like what's it called? I can't remember right now. But anyway, moving on.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that over time and over the age, because that lawn is now, it went in, I think, in 96, 97 time frame. So it's old. Like, it is a older lawn. And it's funny that it started to decline over the front yard has, especially over the past 4 or 5 years. It's kind of started to decline, where he's kind of gotten noticeable results of, like, man, I think I actually got to get out here and do something. Whereas before, I mean, it was just rocking and rolling. I mean, for a Centipede lawn, it didn't look half bad. But it has over the past couple of years just kind of started to decline, and I think there's a combination of exactly what you said, the age of it, and he's got two trees. They're not full grown trees, but they have matured and gotten a little bigger than what they were some years ago. So those two things could be playing a factor in it.
And maybe the phosphorus as well,
Yeah,
right?
most
You
of the
know,
And the
time we
phosphorus.
see, yeah, most of the time when we see Centipede messed up is because of what people have been putting on it.
Mhm.
True Green has killed more Centipede down here where I'm at than the Nazis. Sorry, Turf. I know you're in Germany. I don't want any of them to jump out at you, but
I'm
yeah,
not German.
I know you're in Germany.
Just
Um,
working.
Speaking of that, are you going to have to go to war, man?
I hope not. We'll see. I haven't been to
No,
work in a long time. I haven't been to work since December 31st when my son was born. So I go to work on Monday. We'll see if I'm see what I'm walking into tomorrow. Oh, no. Yeah, tomorrow now because it's Sunday here now. But Flu's got a pretty good question. And I do want to jump in real quick to ask Dan something. I don't know if you were finished or not, Cam. My bad. I
Yeah,
just realized I probably
I'm
just
good.
stepped. Okay. All right, Dan. Well, Flu's question is about we'll put a button on this, and he says, has it fallen out of favor because of the box stores, lawn treatments availability? When we were talking about the centipede grass, I think you kind of answered the mail on that, but I give any somewhat. I mean, I think maybe if anything, if the box stores, lawn treatments have had an effect on it, is due to your residential homeowners not understanding that 10 10 10 isn't it for centipede. Like they just don't understand what they have in their lawn and how to properly care for it. That's what I'm going to guess. If anything, that's
Mhm.
why it's falling out of favor, because these turfs are failing because you're not managing them properly due to misinformation or lack of education. Either one.
That's probably true. And I mean, we've seen a lot of, like I was saying earlier, we've seen a lot of lawn care companies that just mistreat it terribly. But
Right.
I mean, with the internet now, I think people are learning more and more and more about how to care for their specific lawns, and people that are getting into it are really getting into it and learning what they need to know. Which I mean, some people are opposed to that, but I think it's great. Um,
Right.
but a lot of the reasons Centipede is not, well, from an applicator standpoint, a lot of reasons I don't like it is because I can't do anything to make it better. I mean, I can't fertilize myself out of a problem or anything like that. Or if it's starting to decline, there's not a whole lot I can do to save it. Or it might react to an application that you usually put on it and it's fine. It might react to it and kill every bit of it. So, I mean, it's just a gamble I don't like taking. A lot of lawn care companies don't mess with it anymore. But in the markets where there's a lot more of it, I mean, obviously they don't have much of a choice.
Right. Right. And then Dan, what was it? Oh yeah, I wanted to circle back to what you said earlier about, you were talking about how with would make one of the things that makes the permagreen different about the spraying and the accuracy, and how you can just worry about spraying and not necessarily worry about um the intricacies that go into the spraying. It has something to do with the calibration, and it does the work for you. And since I've been doing this, I've seen, we're not going to call them by name for the sake of brand continuity, but I'm going to call them perma wannabes. Can we just talk about that again? Because when you said it, I heard it, but I didn't fully grasp it. And I think that's important to highlight when we talk about calibration and spray rates and stuff like that. Um, what makes the permagreen special again? Could we just hit that one more time? Like a 1 minute, 2 minute elevator pitch, just so it's
Yeah, I
clear.
mean, yeah. As far as the spray system on the Permagreen, it's all regulated off the RPM. So, coming out of the factory, it's going to be right around 34, 50 RPMs at full throttle. So when an applicator, as long as he engages that spray, we'll just stick with the spray instead of the spread. As long as he engages that spray at that 34, 50 RPM at full throttle, then again that's going to make sure that pump is spinning at that right speed to give you that quart per thousand rate. And you don't, like with a lot of the other machines out there, which we have a patent on that spray system, that mechanically regulated spray system. With a lot of other machines out there, pretty much all the other machines out there, you do have to tweak a pressure gauge kind of according to what speed you're going. So it's more or less an added complication in that case for applicators out there. And we had a company that it was down in Alabama, that they had bought a bunch of, name names, but zero turn machines, and they had applicators that started messing with a lot of the knobs and the bells and whistles and the adjustments that you can make on that, and they ended up burning up a lot of property, a lot of large properties. And they decided right then and there that we're not doing this. This is too complicated. We need something more simple. It's gonna essentially do the work for you. So they ended up getting Permagreens, and now they have like 40, 50 of the Permagreens. But yeah, that's kind of, if that makes sense. That's kind of what basically how that spray system works.
Yeah, you nailed it for me. What you're saying is Permagreen is the equivalent to Apple without having to buy a whole bunch of add-on accessories. You get what you pay for up front. So it's the best parts of Apple without the pain in the butt of Apple. I got it. I can dig that. That's it. That's all I got. I just see Polo up there laughing. I know Cam, he hates Apple too. So I figured I'd burn Apple. I am an Apple person. I'm just like, hey, I'm in the ecosystem. I'm stuck. Once you get in, it's like,
and you stuck for life.
Yeah.
Like you're done. You're done. You're just a marching soldier. You're just a marching soldier now.
Yeah, I get made fun of by everybody that any time, like him in a text message, and like, oh, well, who's the Android guy here, huh? Like,
why is it green? Right, that green bubble life.
Yeah,
I keep my bubbles green like my stripes.
I like that. That was cool. Yeah, that was a little. I give you that. That was slick.
Hey, so real quick, I want to jump into going with you, Paul, as far as a spring question, and just basically asking you, since you have the best of both worlds, you have Tall Fescue down there, Georgia, Centipede, you got everything going on down there. What are you like basically going out, or what are you going to be going out with this season, as far as when pre-emergence? I think you use a lot. You just give us a little rundown of what you're going to be going down with as far as for spring treatments.
Okay, well, we're going to do different things for different types of lawns. Obviously, the 1st of January, we started getting out a lot of Bermuda. We had a little warm stretch where the temperatures were favorable. We sprayed. I've got a lot of it to go, but I probably got in maybe 20 some acres of Bermuda with flumioxazin and either glyphosate or manner. And flumioxazin is Shore Guard. It's a pre-post emergent that is really effective. And then I've also, this week I've been spraying a lot of fescue, and last week I sprayed a lot of I sprayed about 20 fescue yards today and fertilized them with let's see what I have in the tank. On most of them I'll spray 48 ounces of Cool Power, which is a pyridine formulation fertilizer herbicide from New Farm. It's got triclopyr ester in it, and I think MCPA and dicamba. I could be wrong on the MCPA, but I know it does not have 4D in it. and Matt's prefix, 48 ounces of prefix to the acre, and pound of prodiamine, a WDG 60 prodiamine on all of them. But yeah, it was a pretty productive day today. I got in just before dark. I drove the truck straight home so I'd be here instead of going to shop, so I'd be here in time for the We Workin podcast show. So we out working.
We was working.
always. So
Paul, I want to ask you. You was just talking. How many accounts are you running now? I know you said you've been at it 20 years now. So how many accounts are you running around about now?
I don't have a good solid count on how many accounts it is, but because it'll vary sometimes too. I spray a whole lot for especially warm season yards. I got a lot of landscapers that will call me in to like in the spring. I got 2 or 3 of them that'll give me a list with. I think one of them's got about 100 yards. He'll give me a list. Say, can you get can you spray these for me? Or last year he did. And then I got another one who has a lot of commercial properties, hotels, apartment buildings, stuff like that, and I'll spray them a few times a year. And I mean, that between those two, I mean, that's a lot of acreage right there. And then I've probably got 140 fescue customers, and then several hundred warm season customers. It's a lot to keep up with for one dude.
You're doing it out there.
Like I say, it varies. A lot of them are like the ones for the landscapers are just spraying once or twice a year for them. But yeah, that's about where I'm at.
That's Permagreen work.
That's a good business right there. That's some good work.
He's rolling. No boss grows on the Permagreen. That's for sure.
From a maintenance perspective, like how much maintenance would you consider it a easily maintainable piece of equipment?
Extremely. Because I mean, it's so basic. There's not a lot to it. There's no electrical parts to it or anything else like that. There's no crazy belt routing on it or something that's going to wear out belts quick. I mean, the 2 belts on it just have a straight shot. There's no kinds of crazy binds that the belts will get anything like that. I mean,
right.
There's parts on them that'll need replacing every now and again, and there's parts that are kind of designed to break to keep you from tearing something else up.
So when you said that you're spraying for spring, like I imagine you're going out with pre-emergence
on top of the.
Oh, I'm sorry, you were chopping up just now. Or maybe it was on mine.
So if you get in a bind,
yeah,
you broke up on me.
Chevy.
I think we mellow out yet?
Come on back to us, Paul.
Are y'all there?
All right,
we
here.
Yeah, there we go. You back?
We here.
I think you got my dial up over there, Paul. Sound like you got my dial up over there, Paul. But we gonna roll with it. When you were talking about spraying stuff, I imagine you're out spraying a lot of pre-emergence, and then I would ask you. I know you do Anew as a plant growth regulator. How are you liking that? What's the kind of response you're seeing on your lawns? You were the reason why I even tried it for a little bit of POA, Triv, not necessarily control because it doesn't control it, but it gives me a little bit of suppression. Well, it worked for what I wanted to do in my yard. It suppressed it enough to allow my quality turf, the desirable turf, to fill in. And when the summer got there, when the POA Triv checked out, it was not nearly as dramatic. So like this spring, is that something on your bucket list? What other things are you kind of like looking at spraying out there? Let's just talk about that and like in your experience with Anew specifically, because I know that's the growth regulator that's your choice of growth regulator, right? You don't really fool too much around with T-Nex.
For a cool season, the Anew is prohexidine, so There is a generic now for it as well, but a new growth regulator or prohexidine is a little softer regulation than something like Tenaxapac ethyl. So with Tenaxapac, when you regulate turf, it'll last a certain amount of growing degree days, and then when those days are over, all the energy that it's been holding back releases like a kinked garden hose, and so your grass will go from being regulated and shoot up. So it makes a mess if you miss calculating the growing degree days. And also with something like Tenaxapac ethyl or Trimmet or whatever, you can discolor the hell out of the grass with it. And new, on the other hand, is a little softer regulation. It kicks in a little slower and it fades out a little slower, and it also will increase the color of the turf versus bronzing it. So in the spring, on a few of the higher end yards I've got, I might get, 25 yards in with the new, maybe, especially the ones I mow, because I've got them pretty gassed up on fertilizer. So when the weather gets right, that fescue's going to want to just divert all that energy and growing straight up. And with the new, it'll hold it back, and it'll, instead of diverting that energy, it'll suspend those gibberellic acids that make it want to reach for the sun, and it'll divert that energy into root growth. And then fescue, that's kind of the name of the game down here, is getting it through the summer. It's having some deep roots, so it'll survive these hot summers. So yeah, the Adu is a win-win. It's a fantastic app for your cool season grasses like fescue in the springtime especially, and it will. I've seen it have so many varying effects on Poa annua and Poa trivialis. The trivialis, I've seen it just look like it killed some of it sometimes, and sometimes it just kind of blends that color in and suppresses it back. And I've definitely seen Poa annua that looked like it was sprayed with a herbicide after you hit it with that stuff. It was all brown and curled up. It was pretty interesting. And then sometimes it just kind of shrinks it down and it hangs under the grass canopy, and you don't see it. And that's all you care about anyway. It's not hurting anything in there. It's just an aesthetic thing. When it gets those white flowers on it, it looks bad. But if you can get the new on it, you'll shrink it back and you won't see that. So that's good. But the biggest benefit to the new to me is that not having to mow it so much. And when when you're growing, when it'll grow 12 inches tall in a week in the springtime, you're doing a lot of damage to it going in there mowing it too. So you get that anew on it, and you're not stressing it out as much at mowing. So it's a big win to run that prohexidine on.
So Paul, as far as for the new for cool season grass, you're normally supposed to, I guess, put that anew down on the grass when it's growing, or are you putting it down on it now?
I know I wouldn't run any now. I just wait till, just depending on what the weather's doing. It'll, in my area, usually at toward the end of March, 1st of April, we're starting to see a lot of action in the fescue. So that's going to be I probably won't have to run but 1 or 2 applications, and they will probably, depending on weather, the first one will probably come in April.
Because that was the next question I was about to ask.
Yep, I was about to go down those lines too.
Yeah, when it starts growing, how many applications are you putting on it before we get into the summertime? Like, is it like, are you putting it down and then waiting 4 weeks before you put the next application down? Or are you doing it, that's the next question I was going to ask, though.
Dependent on the weather, usually you'll get 4 weeks plus control out of it. And what I've seen on a lot of the yards I've done, judging by the amount of clippings I'm taking off of them, is it's actually, you would think it would be different, but the first, it just kind of comes in gradually, and then, but because a lot of times when you spray something like Tenaxapac ethyl, it's stunned right there where you sprayed it, and it ain't gonna grow till it wears off, and then boom, it grows like crazy. But with the new, like, well, I'm just going to give you an example of mowing a typical big lawn with the walker mower. The first week I might take 4 hoppers of grass off of it. The second week I might take 3 hoppers. The third week I might take 2. The fourth week I might take 1 hopper off, and then it starts in reverse from that, coming out of that. So it's, you know, you might be able to get away with 1 application just depending on how the weather does, but 2 usually gets me through.
So you all right? We're 1, maybe 2 applications, and I know where you're at in the transition zone. We're talking fescue. I know you've got disease pressure. I know that's a concern that you've got to be able to at least get that fescue out of regulation to be able to push through any disease pressure that you might start to face. So what does that time period look like for making sure you're transitioning out of regulation to be ready for that disease pressure when it kicks in?
Well, where I'm at in the transition zone, May 15th, for some reason, is the magic date where brown patch fairies show up out of nowhere. I rarely see it before May 15th, but on May 15th, almost every year, you'll see it. So I would not apply it 3 weeks before May 15th, if that makes any sense.
Okay. And just to kind of calibrate for like some of the audience, May 15th, Eastern North Carolina, you're talking temperature, humidity wise, you're probably maybe mid 80s by then, low 8.
Sure.
And then you could maybe hitting a couple of 90 degrees every now and then in there, depending on how it is.
Right, depending on the weather. Yeah, I mean, the weather lately has been so unpredictable and out of control. I mean, it's kind of cool for a while in the spring this year, and then summer came late, and then it stayed hot. But yeah, when you're hitting those 80s and 90s and stuff, you're getting into the Rhizoctonia solana's wheelhouse, and it's going to show up in the third.
Okay, cool. And the reason this conversation, so Turf kind of lobbed it up there, and we kind of started talking about the anew, but I will be running anew on my lawn for the first time this year, and you're a large portion of that. And then in talking to Ryan DeMay also, I'm interested in running some anew, seeing what it's going to do on, because so I've got a Kentucky bluegrass, mainly tall fescue mixture in my lawn, and I've got a lot of shade in the back, so I'm battling some shade in the back, which is why I want to try and get in there, get some of that anew down to get it to quit reaching for the sun and just drive those roots during the spring, which is what's your experience dealing with anew in maybe shaded type environments?
Yeah, I've done that some too, and because what happens in these shady areas is the grass will get kind of spindly and trying to reach for the sun, like you're talking about. And if you can use a PGR, this goes with any grass type actually. If you can run a little PGR into your more shaded areas, it does help. It's a win-win. Yeah, there's no downside to running that prohexidine on your fescue in the spring.
Yeah. Have you used the generic yet, or have you only used the anew?
Yeah, there's a generic from Right Line, something like that.
Okay.
I don't know how much of it you need, so that might be an issue for you, because you can buy a new in a 1.5 pound bag, but the Right Line comes in a 5 or 6 pound jug, so it's more expensive. And it's not. I mean, I don't know what everybody else's prices on it are, but the price on the generic brand versus the New Farm brand is not dramatically different. It might be $10-15 a pound difference.
Okay.
And I
Good,
was
good thing I had a friend that went to Germany and couldn't take his Anu with him.
Mm. And I would love to be running it out here, but guess what? Amongst like about 1,000 other products, it's on some retarded greenkeeper. We're trying to be better tree huggers list thing, and so I can't run it either. So, yeah.
And I was gonna say, Paul, this is actually I'm with Cam also. This is gonna be the first year that I am going to be using Anu as well. So I'm very curious on how it's going to respond. I know that we were talking with Demay on a live cast, and we were talking about like what you were just stating as far as like the first week you're cutting off a lot, the second week it's a little, the third week it's a little, and then as far as for a lawn care operator, a lot of people may think, well, why would you want to put that on there and it's not making the grass grow, and you can't get over there and get to cutting and doing all those things. But really the most important thing, like what you said, is it's deepening roots and it's getting it ready for the summertime. So it's you can't look at it like a quick buck, a quick buck, a quick buck. The main thing you're trying to do is take care of the people's lawns, and if that's one way that you can be able to do that, that can be able to help, that's a large amount of help as far as with it making this energy go towards deepening the roots.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
I see so much turf damage due to these guys mowing it when it's out of control tall, and they're dumping mats all over the ground, mats of grass, and riding over it with the mower, and just making a total mess out of it. It is really easy for a fescue yard that's all juiced up, if it's rained some in the spring, for it to get away from you, and you just totally destroy it mowing it.
Right. So I got a question in the chat that I want to throw at you, and this is from Evie. Evie does it, and he said, "What is your go-to fungicides for disease pressure?"
Well, we use kind of all of them, and it depends on what disease we're going after. But generally, in fescue, I like to run the azoxystrobin. But we don't want to run it round after round because you'll get resistance built up that way. But I either will run just the straight azoxystrobin or the azoxystrobin with a propiconazole.
Now, would you use that on the
mixed in
lawn
with
that
it.
you have under regulation already? As prop
Alternate.
combination?
Right.
I guess we got Paul kind of froze up a little bit again. Let's give him a second. Let's give him a second. He's moving. He's moving. He's moving.
Back.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. We here with you. Go ahead, Paul.
Okay. All right. You can definitely spray a fungicide on one that's regulated. The reason you don't really want to have them regulated a lot going into fungus season is if they do get fungus in them, they are very slow to recover from the fungus damage.
Yeah, that was a stupid question, because really when you're under fungus pressure, you should have let that lawn come out of regulation anyway. So yeah, I didn't think that all the way through. My bad. Yeah.
So let me ask you a question, Paul, as far as for my particular area. Normally we start seeing in your area, you start seeing around like May 15th. That's normally your date. Ours is normally Derby week. That's when we would normally start to get sticky. That's when we're starting to really kind of deal with funguses. So in my situation, if I'm using the Anu, when do I really want to kind of like, or anyone else will kind of want to back off of it? Because if you do get a fungus, you are going to want that fungus to kind of grow out.
All right. Well, when's Derby Day?
Cam, you saying something, but I can't hear anything you saying.
You must be muted.
Oh,
Camas
Yeah,
community.
like nobody in, if you're not in Kentucky or Louisville, those are clearly not the same place, according to
Yeah, those are
Polo.
two different
Right.
places.
Two different places.
I don't even have a hat
if
like
you
that.
if you're not in Kentucky or Louisville, hey man, we don't relate to Derby as this is a specific date on the calendar. When is
Nobody
that?
know
If you
what
told
Derby
me it
is.
was like around the Super Bowl,
Hey man, Derby is a Super Bowl, man. Derby is y'all gonna be watching Derby over in Germany, turf. So don't get it twisted on Derby, man. Don't get it twisted on Derby. That's a national holiday right there, and it's Derby. We don't call it the Kentucky Derby. It's Derby.
Derby.
Go ahead, Paul. Finish what you were saying.
No time frame. When is that? That's what Paul
When
was
When is it?
asking.
That's
When
what he
Okay.
asked you. When
Okay.
is it? Yeah.
Derby is
when
the
is
first
it? So I can
weekend.
tell you when to stop putting the growth regulator on the track.
It's the first weekend in May. It's the first weekend in May.
Yeah, so you need to back off about the same time.
About the same, almost the same
Okay,
time
well,
as Paul.
yeah, I mean, yeah, about the same time. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, I would have my preventative fungicide down. I mean, like with mine, I in like the last week of April, we start trying to get preventative fungicides down. So by by May 20th or so, we've got them all done. So yeah, so that's what you're gonna want to do. Drop a cigar.
Cool. So I got a. Go ahead, Turk. Go ahead.
I want to hit this because it's popped up again. Where's the dollar? He said, I want to start at the beginning. And he says, as soon as 40 degrees steady soil temp, I'm throwing down mycorrhizae fungi, earthworm castings, azomite minerals, and mix all together with the Let's Go Pro G, seeing if I can cut out synthetic fertilizers. Then his comment just now, he says, trying this to prevent fungus too, mycorrhizae fungi, earth castings, azomite minerals, and mix it all together with the Let's Go Pro G. I'll see. And the question I have for you, where's the dollar, is I imagine that you're trying to get after like a regenerative lawn care program, sort of, where, less inputs. And I think what's important when you approach that is if you have a soil test that supports. I would imagine that you're also going to be mulching all your clippings to return the nitrogen source because you need N, right? But I think synthetic fertilizers aren't the issue. The issue is not building a strong root system. When you build a strong root system with your turf, what you're able to create is a symbiotic relationship between the microorganisms that feed on that root system. It's a symbiotic relationship between your roots and the microorganisms, right? They work hand in hand. They exchange these different nutrients and make nutrients plant available for your plant system. But you can't do that if your soil is more so like dirt. So if you're like in a brand new renovation house that has subsoil surface on the top of it, and you try to go in there with just throwing more things that are going to promote more microbial activity, microbial life will reestablish itself all on its own. You don't need to add things to it to kickstart that issue. I think what's more important though is that your plan aligns with your soil test. So like for me, right, the first thing I did when I got to Germany to my lawn before I did anything was a soil test. And in my backyard, I don't have a need for any phosphorus or potassium. I'm good there. Now, could I get away with no nitrogen inputs and just try to recycle the clippings and hope for the best and let the water do its job and hope that the microbial activity and throw things down like this? Would that work? Possibly, it might. Could I just use maybe a top dress it with some compost and very specific compost that I know the analysis on that is organic and is not synthetic? But I would argue like the soil amendments are to amend the soil to get it so that it's on its own regenerative cycle. And the enemy is not the synthetic fertilizer. It's not. I would urge you to to do a little bit more research. If you've already done the research, I'm sorry for maybe seeming like I'm insulting you, but that's not my point. I just want to like iterate these things to you, like, because I don't want to see you go down the road, because the products that you're talking about using, they're more expensive than synthetic fertilizer, especially when you're applying them to a lawn. But there's companies coming out with things that you could use and you can spray, liquid earthworm castings. But what's more important, grass wants NPK. That's what that plant wants. It wants NPK. And if it's not in the soil, it's not going to magically appear. You need to feed it so that you build a root structure that now creates a symbiotic relationship, and then it starts to release something that may be already there and it might be locked up. So I just wanted to say that to you, because I would hate for you to go down the path that you waste a whole bunch of money and you have, discontent and hate at the end of your season. And that's it. I get off my soapbox. I digress. Unless somebody else wants to add something to that.
You hit that. You hit that.
No, that was turf on his soapbox. I'll leave that one alone. But what I will say is, and I think
I say good luck to anybody who wants to try an organic program, and I've never seen much success with organic weed control and total organic lawn care, but maybe there's a sweet spot in a combination of the two.
Yeah, so absolutely. I think that world exists in the right circumstances. Like, that's why I keep harping. What does your soil test say? Like, are you in a position to do that already within your native soil? Because if you're not, that's a bad move. You're going to regret it. I'm just letting you know. Whether it's inorganic or organic, you're going to regret it. Data-driven decisions, like Cam is probably about to say.
Yep. I mean, I will say, like, I posted it on my IG today. I've been working on my test plot probably 2 years now, on my test plot, and us, we famous for that. Put 2 years on it, and you'll start to see some things change. I pulled soil tests today, or soil samples today, and you can visibly see a difference in the soil as it's starting to build versus what was originally there, which you can still see it maybe 7 inches down below from the surface. It's very sandy. I've got a very sandy type soil here, low CEC, and you look up towards the top, I'm starting to build that soil that everybody's wanting to see it. And what I've been focusing on is data-driven decisions off of a soil test with NPK. I ain't out there throwing nothing fancy down, no magic products. It's giving the soil what it needs, because I know I was lacking in phosphorus. I'm going down with that amount of phosphorus that I need. I know my nitrogen rates that I'm going down with every season. NPK, make sure your micronutrients and stuff are getting in there. And at that point in time, it's not the fact that you're using synthetic fertilizers or anything like that. Nitrogen management and nutrient management is very important in being able to get through the disease pressure that a fescue or cool season lawn, any lawn, will see, but especially those cool season lawns. Nitrogen management and nutrient management is very important when it comes to that.
Quality sources of those nutrients as well. Like Paul was saying, I'm going to use ammonium sulfate over here, then I'm going to use sulfate of potash over here versus using a urea nitrogen source and a muriate of potash source. Those things are important. But he said, he's going to walk it down. He's going to use the NPK just less. Herky Burns has a good question for Paul, though.
Herky Burns' question is, Paul, do you still use RGS to promote root growth or something similar?
Similar.
I use it sometimes. I don't currently have any of the actual branded RGS in my stockpiles of crap, but I've got some humic acid and I've got some kelp, and I can mix up my own version of RGS. But yeah, biostimulants are a real thing, and there's plenty of uses for them. And I mean, humic acid is one, but there's other stuff, the peptides and
Peptide power.
molasses and
Peptide
kelp,
power.
things like that. Yeah, get some peptide power on it.
Using that
Peptide
crap
power.
in that crap technology. Yeah.
Also, Dan, I didn't want to leave you out. This was a question that was asked earlier from Charles Wilson, and I don't know exactly what products he's referring to, but he was saying, is it possible to completely use all the products in the tanks, or is he doing it wrong? So I'm assuming maybe he's talking about maybe a pre-emergent and maybe a fertilizer or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess looking at the question, I don't know if he's talking about like emptying all the products or whatever's in the tanks all the way out, or if he's just talking about using different products with the permagreens. But I know as far as if that's what he's concerned about, as far as getting all the product to empty out of the permagreens. I know the suction line actually sits a little above the bottom of the tanks. I think that it's purposeful. It kind of goes with the overall design of the machine there. But if there is any like product that might be sitting at the bottom of the tank that he's wanting to get out empty and put a new product in, or just at the end of the day clean it out. Um, I think Paul mentioned the shop vac. Some guys will devote a shop vac to getting product out of the tank. They even make like you see them at a lot of, like, we sell through like Site One Landscape Supply, and they got this tool that's like it's a just this plastic tube and a pump that you can actually put in there, and it'll have a flexi hose where you can pump out any sort of liquid into like some sort of container. So yeah, you can use kind of different tools in order to get that out. You can, and same goes for the fertilizer in the hopper as well. Some guys will devote a shop vac to that, and it just makes the process of cleaning the machine a lot easier.
And he did respond to. He said yes as far as using it all out of the tank.
Gotcha.
Thank you for still being here, Charles. We appreciate that, man.
Exactly. Appreciate that, Charles. Appreciate you still being here. I was trying to see if there was any more questions in the chat. I don't see if there's any more. We really kind of tackled every last one of those questions.
I will say that I see a live between Paul, DeMay, and myself to talk about cool season lawns and PGRs.
Mm.
What y'all think about that? Would you be up for it, Paul?
He's frozen.
He froze.
There he is.
Yeah, I can do it again.
I think that would be. I think that'll be a good live.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I think. I think that'll be a good live. Like, Paul's actually been out there in the field doing it. I know I watched you all last season. I watch all your videos, but that was one that really drew me in when you were using the Anu and the PGRs on the fescue. And from then on, I was hooked to wanting to. How's it doing? And I feel like I know your lawns when you pull them up. I was like, yep, I know which one that one is. Yeah, that one got the PGR. I know what issues he's working with on them. But I think, we can get together. I think we bring that to the We Workin Team, bring you and DeMay together. I think that'll be a good live, because I think a lot of cool season people are now starting to at least hear about the benefits of applying PGRs in the spring to a cool season lawn. But that's something real new. That's not something that, especially from a residential homeowner standpoint, has been done very frequently, like to the level that warm season guys have been applying PGRs to lawns for a longer period of time. But I think for cool season guys, this is a little bit of new territory.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, New Farm must have sold a lot of product off of that video because they sent me a case of steaks.
I'm pretty sure you got some attention off of that one.
Yeah. Landscapes of America. That's a good point. He says, I think all organic programs have to be a hybrid type. Oh, is Paul talking?
In Greenville visiting Dad, you need to come by and see me, man.
I'll definitely do that, and I'm gonna look you up, and I'll probably come down. I'm gonna probably get down there here soon, because we got a little project that I'm trying to work with them on. So, yeah, I'm gonna get down there soon, and next time I'm down there, I'll definitely hit you up.
Make sure you take him a cigar. Take him a cigar.
Yeah, there you go, Robert.
You gotta show up with a cigar. He's gonna turn you away.
And Robert, stay safe, man. If anything happens, keep your head down.
Absolutely. Hey, keep my
right,
head
guys.
down and on the swivel.
Thank you for having me, Polo. See you, Dan.
All right, Paul.
All right, Paul. We'll see you, Paul.
Later, guys.
Yeah,
Paul had to get up out of here. I appreciate you, Paul, man.
Yeah, he running and gunning.
The wife was texting him. The wife was definitely. She's like, "Come on now, it's time to come in and eat."
Come on out. Food's ready. Food's ready.
Yeah, you did look kind of hungry. I think he always looks hungry, but.
Turf, you were saying something about landscapes.
Landscapes of America. They say, I think all organic programs have to be a hybrid type. Even the largest organic lawn care company in the U.S. runs a hybrid program. And when it comes to like regenerative programs, and you're right, you're absolutely right. And I think what people fail to realize is they get this misnomer is like, oh well, nature does it all on its own, and in nature, NPK, and it takes care of itself, and it doesn't need human interaction. It doesn't need the synthetics. It's all organic, and it lives happily by itself. That's true. You know what else does not exist in nature? One full stand of a certain breed of grass, right? So what we're doing is against nature. Managing a turf is not what nature wants to do. It wants to have a prairie of all these different types of things in it. When you have a regenerative program that's naturally happening, you have trees that aren't really conducive to growing a healthy, beautiful stand of turf. So, and even with gardening and in the agricultural realm, you're not about to go in your yard and bury fish and all of your food waste into your lawn so that it turns into a humus-like material over 2 to 4 years. So with that being said, with us going against nature, we're going against an organic approach. You're going to have to do things because what you're trying to do is beat Mother Nature. If you let Mother Nature take over, the grass was never really designed in, when this all started, however you think it started, it's irrelevant. But when this all started, it wasn't designed to have a grass full of a lard full of Kentucky bluegrass and turf type tall fescue. You got into any native woodland area, you'll see how nature wants to exist on its own and how it takes care of itself without any humans helping it. But when you come into the residential setting, that changes. So now we have to, right, it's not what it wants, and that now we have to supplement the things that it's missing because of us breaking up that ecosystem. I think that would be a solid way of thinking of it, and just knowing that things just need to have its balance. That's it. That's all I was going to say.
You said a mouthful right there.
Turf soapbox number 2.
Hey, I promise I'm done. You can tell, I'm kind of passionate about it, just a little bit.
Hey, gotta have some passion. Just
a little bit. Because I went down that road. I promise you, I'm right there with you, man. And when I went down that road, I had to. Once you know better, you do better, right? And I know better, and I want you to know better so you can do better. And I don't want to see you fail. I want to see you win. We want to see you win. The We Workin Team wants to see you win.
Yeah. Right.
Dan wants to see you win.
Right.
That's why he's still up here, standing up here with us. Paul wanted to see you win too, but he was just hungry.
Paul had,
So
yeah, Paul was hungry. So,
I'd say with an adequate nutrient program, yes, where the dollar, your Mountain View seed lateral spread should have a chance. Absolutely.
It definitely does. With the right program, I'm a full believer in that Mountain View lateral
Yeah.
spread. I've done it for a year.
Yeah.
And
Dan,
that soil that I was just talking about is exactly where I grew that Mountain View lateral spread. I mean, you can it can be done. It can be done. You can build the soil that you're looking for. Just make sure. And my thing is I think you putting together a plan, starting with your soil test. If you haven't got a soil test and you're planning to go off and you're going to mix this and mix that and mix everything else, you need to make sure that you're starting with a soil test so you at least know what nutrients you're starting with and what type of soil you're starting with. And then from there, you can make sure that you're providing the nutrients that it needs to survive and then to continue to build that soil that you're looking for. And one of the things that I truly believe in, the best thing to develop the soil that you're looking for is to grow a healthy stand of turf or to grow a healthy stand of plants on top of it. At that
yeah.
point, you're now allowing Mother Nature to go ahead and start that process that you're looking to get, and it will continue to build on that. You'll build that root mass, you'll build that root system, you'll build that organic matter. Those roots will grow, they'll die, they'll then start to get cycled back through the root cycling effect, and you will begin to build that soil that you're looking for, where now your inputs can now be reduced and just sustain over a period of time, which is where I'm looking to get to. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
believer in I don't want to apply anything that I don't have to. But I am not against applying fungicides, herbicides, or whatever fertilization or nutrients that need to be applied to the soil. I will go apply that because that is going to benefit the plant that I'm trying to grow and the overall life and health of the plant. Like, so that is it's a cycle that's going to take some time, but there are ways that we can make sure that we're helping and we're applying that to the lawn and building that soil.
2 years,
So,
baby.
oh, Robert, just had a, you brought up an interesting point. I know you were talking about, kind of like the, I guess, for lack of a better term, the kind of the human manipulation of the environment there, as far as what we're doing with the grass and making a, homogeneous type of, plant in these lawns. And
Mhm.
um, do you see any sort of, like, as far as, people that you talk to or customers you might deal with? I feel like sometimes, the lawn care business gets a bad rep for that, and just, like lawns in general, I guess, get kind of a bad rep that they're, maybe, going against the environment, not good for the environment, and that sort of thing. But I always thought it's important to, you know also preach, like, especially if you're a lawn care company, say, grass is good. I mean, these are plants. There's, thousands, millions of plants that you're putting in your yard, as opposed to, sometimes you hear those people that say, well, lawns are bad. You need to get rid of that lawn. And it's kind of like, well, what else are you going to put in there? You're going to put a bunch of rock? It's like,
Exactly.
well, that's,
Exactly.
you're getting rid of all these plants to put in rocks. That's better for the environment?
No.
So I think that is important for lawn care companies to, preach that grass is good. Grass is a good thing, and they're kind of, sometimes they are fighting that battle with that. That could be that misnomer that, you know lawns are bad and a bad thing and waste of resources, and things like that. And there's bad things that can happen when you're applying, if you're doing it the wrong way. But if you're doing it the right way, then it's supporting all those millions of plants that you're putting out in front of your home. And I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, and for those people, they're falling victim to a plague of just misinformation or lack of education or lack of interest in educating themselves and just letting someone else tell them what to think. I call them baby bird feeder type people. Like they want to be baby bird fed. And the first thing I tell them is I say, just like you say, there's no such thing as a bad dog. They're just terrible pet owners. There's no such thing as a bad lawn. There's just irresponsible lawn keepers, right? Residential owners. The worst thing I could tell you what's worse than a lawn or applying herbicides to your lawn or applying synthetics to your lawn. What's worse than that is applying anything to your lawn without getting a reputable soil test. If you don't do that, then how do you know where you're going to go if you don't know where you work?
Mm-hmm.
And I think lawn care companies should do a better job, or they're charged with a responsibility to effectively communicate that to their clients without over explaining in a way to where it just goes over their head, right? You need to find some type of analogy to just help it make sense to them, under explained it to them so they overstand and not understand. I think when lawn care companies and professional applicators and professional turf managers take that approach rather than the approach of like, what's very often in the medical field, people who think they're really, really good job at their jobs in the medical field, they feel like they don't have to, or they shouldn't have to explain themselves to their patients. Just let me do my job and get out the way. But if you took the time and explained it to your customer, maybe
Mm-hmm.
you could go a lot further, right? All these misnomers and things like that. Like you legit have companies out there that are claiming not to don't use chemicals on your lawn, right? Use my program. And then you look at the bag and it's full of synthetic stuff. Like I'm looking at the hypocrisy to the point where I'm reporting it on Instagram or wherever the heck I saw the ad as false advertisement. This is ludicrous, but they're getting away with it because of how people consume information nowadays.
And it's just
Like
they're getting away with that label that's right on the front of it. Nobody
right.
looks at actually what's on the back of the bag where the actual information is.
But you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of that lazy way of saying, oh, I'm an organic company and I'm going to do it the organic way, when it runs a little bit deeper than that. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but it is more valuable, like you're saying, just to educate your customers so they can also be on the same page, and be also people out there like advocates for proper lawn care, and they can go to their neighbors and know what they're talking about and feel confident in what they're doing to their lawn, feel good about it and feel like, I'm doing
Absolutely.
a good thing here. And I feel like maybe some lawn care guys are scared that they're gonna, go and do it themselves or what have you. But at the same time, I think if you properly communicate that, you do a good job, you use your products in a safe and responsible way, then they're gonna respect that. They're gonna hold on to that, and they're gonna value as a service. And I think the more education and more information you put out there on what's really going on, then it's only for the better.
Yeah.
And
And that's why
I
we do this.
completely agree, Dan. I completely agree. Just talking with a couple of people in my neighborhood. I mean, as they ask certain questions and they see my lawn and they stop by and they want to know, is like, hey Cam, can you come help me out with my lawn or just take a look? And as you start to explain certain things, like it's kind of like they kind of understand it and then they respect the the growth that they've seen in your lawn and where they want to get to. And they're like, okay, now I understand a little bit more of what he's doing over there. Now it's not just about only throwing down products or I'm throwing down this one specific product, or it's more so of the full system of what you're putting together.
the one thing that I want to add to that is that's what separates the two. As far as for me, for example, I love sharing that information with my customers, regardless if they ask about it or not. And what that builds is that builds trust,
And respect.
because I'm really willing to sit up there. Forget my headphones. I'm really willing to sit up there and take the time to tell you about what I'm putting on your lawn, to take the time to tell you what's wrong with your lawn and why I'm putting those things on your lawn. You know, you as a homeowner, you owe it to yourself to know what's going in your lawn. You know, you should at least want to know.
Mm-hmm.
I used to go through that a lot with when I used to get my lawn sprayed from a different company, and you know they leave the receipt on your front door, and you look at that long receipt and you look at everything. I'm looking like, what is this stuff? So once you start to, you know, I mean, cause I didn't know it all, but once you start to
Right.
dive deep into it and you start to ask questions, especially if you're getting applications and your lawn is not changing, your lawn is
Mm-hmm.
looking the same. You still got weeds. Your grass is still light green. It's not money green. You'd be like, well, wait a minute, man. This company ain't doing it right, and I need to get somebody else, or I need to do it by myself. And that's when you start to dive deep. So when you can really get someone that can share that knowledge with you, that right there just speaks volumes. Now I do understand there's a lot of companies as of like Paul that may have hundreds of clients, and having the time to sit down and spend 5 minutes with someone, that's not gonna happen. You can
Mm-hmm.
forget it. You can forget it. But still, they should be still leaving some type of information as far as what they're putting down in the first place. But yeah, that right there it speaks volumes when you can find out what's going on, what they're doing to your lawn, and then like I said, you build that trust, because when you can trust someone that it's gonna come and do something, and you're going to see those results. I mean, you're gonna have a customer for life, and that's what you want.
And
Absolutely. And
and
even when you
it's
share the
funny. It's
information with the customers, my bad, Cam. But even when
no,
you
go ahead.
share the information with the customers, and that customer decides, well, I'm gonna do it myself. I'm be honest. 80% of the population, civilian population,
They'll be back.
give them a season, they'll be back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, they'll be back. They don't want to. They don't want to do that. Like that. That's we love doing this. The
Right.
average person, they don't want to do it. After
No.
they do it, if they have a season, if they make it a season,
Right.
pride
Yeah.
pride may push them. Pride may push them for a season just because they don't want to come back. But before the season's out, but they'll be back. And Polo, what you just said was very interesting because I was on a podcast earlier this morning talking exactly about that. So I got asked a question. So Cam, what if you don't want to get out in your lawn and you want to hire somebody to do it? Like, what are some
Mhm.
tips for being able to get somebody in to hire out and do it and know that they're doing a good job? And exactly what you said is exactly what I told them on the podcast. First off,
Mhm.
ask for the results of the soil test. Because
Mhm.
even when I got my lawn service before I got deep into it, after it went along for a period of time and I was ready and nothing was changing, and they said they did a soil test, they charged me for a soil test. Then I go to ask for my results, and they ain't got no results to be able to give to me.
Right. Yeah.
Boom,
I'm
boom,
right there
It's
with
because
you,
they didn't
Cam.
do it.
boom.
I had about
Because they ain't
I'd
do no
argue
soil test.
probably like I had about 20 of my subscribers fire their lawn care services not to start maintaining their own lawn, but when they
But it,
reached out to me and it was like my lawn care company is doing XYZ and my yard looks like trash. What is going on? I want to do some in between stuff to kind of help them out. I said ask for a soil test and ask them what type
mhm,
of grass do you have. When the lawn
mhm.
mhm,
care company couldn't tell them either of those things, I said you need to fire them. You
Yep.
need to fire them
yeah,
because they're
Yep.
trying they're treating you like a cookie cutter lawn. They just go
Yep.
out there. I'm gonna leave those companies unnamed, but y'all know who it is.
Yeah.
So they got a whole new fancy ad rolling on IG right now too. It looked good, and then I removed it. It looked good. It looked nice and fancy. I would be alerted if I didn't know any better. But yeah,
Yeah.
fired
yeah.
them.
Yeah. I
Well,
mean, with that.
and that's why, like, utilizing, like, Paul, you had mentioned about, um, it takes a lot of time to spend all that time with the customers and having to educate them. It's not feasible. You're stretched too thin. But doing like these like YouTube videos, like if you're a company and you go out there and create these resources online that you can put together videos explaining to the customers what you're doing, and that builds more trust. And you can, send out email blasts to your customers with these new videos you put out, like, hey, look,
Mm. Yeah.
this is what we've done.
Boom.
This is why we do it.
Mm-hmm.
This is, and that builds trust. There's other ways of, communicating, and I think even from a business standpoint, we talk about employees and that, and you know, I think a good way of keeping on good people is to make them experts. Give them the ability, the independence to do things like that. Make YouTube videos, because keep educating them so they feel good about what they're doing, and they
Mm-hmm.
feel like they're getting smarter, and they feel like they're experts at something like lawn
Mm-hmm.
care and turf. And it's just a virtuous cycle from there. And then I think at this point, just the way business and sales and everything is, it's like, I think as a good salesperson or a good businessman, it's like you gotta take advantage of those resources and become like a social media expert in that regard, or make these videos and go take that extra step. I think that's a way to really build yourself as a professional.
Yeah.
That's a
Or just
good
little
point, Dan.
cookie cutter info cards,
Mm.
like I was thinking, Paul has a leverage. He has a leverage that most companies don't have, and Polo does too, because they run these social media platforms. But just think about it. Like, imagine you look at your lineup for everything that you have in your lineup, and then you know that you have these soul tests on your clients. It's going to take some time, but how much retention of customers would you get if you took the time to put together these cookie cutter cards when you give them the bill? Hey, this is what I did to your lawn, and this is
Mm-hmm.
what it's building towards based off your soil test. Even
Mm-hmm.
if they read it and they're like, yeah, okay, I hear what you're saying. I don't care. The grass looks good. At least at the end of the day, when someone comes and they ask them about their lawn, they can, show off for their guests and be like, oh yeah, he applied extra, because that's what people do, right? That's
Yeah.
what they do. Like,
Yeah.
or here's all these index cards that he dropped off with this, whatever, however many dollar bill. You can go back and you refer to it. So I,
Mhm.
I think that's what sets you apart. I think that's what removes the negative and misinformed stigmas when it comes to maintaining a healthy uh, stand of turf, and that gets us in a better place. Science is here for a reason. Let's use it.
and
Yeah.
and you
And,
will
and
be. Go
go
ahead.
ahead,
Go.
Polo.
Oh,
No,
I was
no,
about
you
to
got
say
it.
you will be surprised at the lawn care companies that don't do soil tests.
Right.
They don't do it. There's a lot of customers that I'm going to be dealing with this year, and the first time that I start talking about a soil test, they be like, "Well, what's that?" And then I have to, explain it to them and let them know. And then, of course, they're immediately like, okay, well, all right. I like what you're saying. And the one thing that people will strive off of is results. So
Yeah.
if you're giving them a soil test and then you're telling them, hey, this is what we're going to do, and then they start to see those results, then that's when you got a friend forever. No different from you, Dan, when you're sitting up and you're telling them about the Permagreen, and you're saying this and this, you can maximize your efficiency and all those things, and they get out there and they get to doing it. You got a customer for life, because you
Mhm.
told them something, they experienced it with their own hands, and now I mean, it's like, hey, whatever you say, Dan, or whatever you say, Turf, whatever you
Right.
say, Can, whatever you say, hey, I'm gonna take
How
y'all
much
at
I owe
y'all
you?
word.
How much? Take my
Well, and
check.
that
Right,
well,
right.
well, and that's it. It's important because I mean, I've seen the results myself, and it's like it makes it so much easier to sell something that you believe in, that works.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna have a really hard time selling something if you're not really sure on it.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, that's why I mean it feels good that way. it's one of those things where I wouldn't feel good at what I did if, I sold a product that maybe 50-50 that'll work out for them. It's like, no, I've seen the results. I know it's going to work for them. I know they're going to make money with it. I know they're going to do a better job with it. So it makes my job a lot easier, and everything flows from that. So yeah, and then same with you guys. When you go out there, you know your stuff. You know what to do to get that lawn looking good. It's easy to sell. So yeah, and that feels good. It feels good to do something positive. So yeah, it's a good point to reach for sure.
You can go ahead, Cam. You was about to say something.
No, Dan wrapped them up. Dan was right on point with him. We were on the same we were on the same page.
Well, I mean, it seems like that is pretty much about it as far as all the questions we got in the chat. Do y'all got anything else y'all want to squeeze out of it real quick?
I had a good time, man. Thank you for being here, Dan. One day I'm gonna have a Permagreen, possibly, most likely.
I know that
I got your number.
On the line said earlier, he was like, "Hey, are we having a Permagreen giveaway tonight, fellas?"
We'll probably
I said anything's possible, but then I said LOL. So yeah. Don't hold your breath, bro.
Right. That would be nice. It would be nice.
Yeah. I'll see what I can do. Maybe not tonight, but
yeah, man. All I've got is, Dan, I appreciate you for stopping by. Thank you for the insight. I did stop by the booth while I was at GIE, and got to talk to a couple of people there. Permagreens are hopefully in my future when I get some acreage, and at that point, I think I will definitely have a use for it. I definitely see the value in it, especially me as in wanting to take care of the acreage that I want and the way that I want all of it to look. It's right along the same lines as having a Ventrac. Once I sign them papers for some acreage, I need a Ventrac and a Permagreen.
Well, yeah, when the time comes, let me know. I'll help you out with that.
Yeah, I want a Ventrac too. Yeah, I know. I was on what was it, LT Turf, and he was like asking me what was my mower that I wanted, and I didn't say a Ventrac, but that was before I put my hands on the Ventrac. And if I could do it all over again, I would say Ventrac, hands down. Ventrac, Permagreen, and the pond. Oh, that's the three things I need.
Yeah, but the Ventrac, man, it's got so many components that you can add to those things, and I mean, it's just my goodness. A lot of people will say a Permagreen and a Stinger, but I mean, you can do basically the same thing with the Ventrac as well and more. So it's like, okay, a Stinger is only going to do one thing, but Ventrac, hey, y'all. I ain't even gonna say nothing about that.
That Ventrac is a beast, man. That Ventrac is a beast. Like
and it looked good. That's a beautiful color.
And it looks good. And I told wifey, I was like, when we get some acreage, once we sign the papers on the land or the house or whatever it is, the Ventrac is getting signed the exact same day or very there shortly after. So we might as well go ahead and budget both of them in at the same time.
Roll that in.
Roll them in. Same payment.
Hey, so before we go ahead and sign off, I wanted to say, Dan, thank you for your presence, man. Thank you for blessing us with your presence. Same thing with Paul. There was a lot of information that was given in this live.
Yes, Paul. I forgot to thank Paul.
On the line, man, I hope that I know you did. I hope you took notes, my brother, because there was a segment about Centipede. Man, there was some good information. But Dan, I thank you for stopping by with us. Any parting words, Dan?
No, just thanks for having me on. You know, it was cool to, me and Paul gotten pretty close over the last few years. It's been cool to like being able to jump on here and kind of, just rap with them and rap with you guys for the evening. And no, I just really appreciate everything. And of course, if you guys or any of your viewers or listeners have any questions for me, feel free to reach out.
That'll work. And to Herky Burns, you're taking your show on the road and you're on exam next week. Good luck, my brother.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Good luck,
Good luck,
my brother.
man.
Good luck.
That right there speaks volumes as far
Yep.
as, because Cam is doing it too. He was about to say something.
In them books. I'm in them books with you. Good luck. Good
That's
luck.
it. That's it. Good luck, man. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you all for hanging out with us this long. We thank you from the We Workin Team, from Dan, from Paul. Peace out. Y'all have a blessed one. We see y'all next time.
I'm going straight to the top and doing whatever it takes. Pedal to the metal, all gas, no brakes. 0 to 100, no stops, no wait. Subs in the trunk, no treble, just bass. I ain't asking for your permission. If we ain't on the same team, you the competition. If we ain't on the same team, you the competition. If we ain't on the same team, you the competition. See, I ride solo, that means I'm self-driven. The eyes of Harriet Tubman, call it tunnel vision. I think the game needs a substitution, cause all of y'all move the same and I'm the new solution. I have to do my own thing with no contributions, and you can hop on this train.